Two Jack Bros. Two Jack Bros.
We won novelty checks from that grand contest.
We did. Yeah, I kept that for a while.
Yeah. Giant
You know?
novel. I still have it. I still have mine.
I don't
It's
think
in-
I
it's-
think
it's in the
on
basement.
It was on styrofoam, right, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah. That couldn't survive the lifestyle you were living at the time.
Definitely not. It was like peeling off it.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, yeah, this is not. But
Yeah.
yeah, that lasted a while. That's one of those things. I threw out a bunch of stuff like that recently. I had this old broken clock, this like weird wooden kind of clock that like was in my dad's office, I think.
Why'd you throw that out? That thing's right twice a day.
I used to say that, and then he put it at weird times. I would do that a lot. I changed the time.
Wait, what is a weird time?
You do like 4:20 or like 6:30. It's the same, you know, something like that. Ooh, the hand and both hands are on top of each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something about that. It's weird when the clock does it.
It is kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the trippy clock anyway.
Yeah. 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 So you got rid of that.
It's gone. It's somebody else's problem now.
Was it fixable? Was it a fixable problem?
It was like just some old, like I said, it was wood, but it's like fake pine. You know, it was
Yeah.
just not worth really like fixing. I wouldn't want that clock fixed. I liked that it was strange. You know?
Nice, man. That's pretty sick.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that novelty check was probably the only cool thing that I ever won. You know, like we're comparing, like looking at Ansley's championship belt over there. Those kids were winning swords.
Your high rollers thing was cool.
Oh yeah.
They gave you
Oh
that
yeah, yeah.
platter?
High rollers.
What's high?
It's a grappling tournament for stoners.
Oh,
And everybody's high.
that's cool.
Yeah, the refs are high. The announcers are high. Like, everybody's high. And when I was a white belt, I won my division in New York City. I came up in New York City, smoked a bunch of weed, and beat up a bunch of old dudes.
Heck
No, actually,
yeah.
they were like young wrestlers. It was like that was actually a tough thing. But yeah, they gave me this like swag bag of marijuana accoutrements.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
That's what you win? That's so
Yeah,
cool.
it was pretty sick.
Hell yeah. They should make a belt out of joints or something, you know? Like a bunch of ammo.
Damn, that's pretty sick. It's pretty sick. So we're sitting here with Alex Grubard, everybody.
Hey. Hello.
Man, Alex, do you know what we do here? I had to do that because we didn't introduce the last guest, and people hate it when I don't introduce the guest.
I always feel that's weird too. It
Yeah.
makes me want to introduce myself. I'm like, hello, I'm Grubard.
I know because you also they like it because it's organic. People keep that in mind. Then you want me to get all inorganic and start introducing people. By the way, I'm Sydney. This is Ansley. Welcome to Two Jack Bros. Goodness gracious.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So, Alex, do you know what we do on this podcast?
Not specifically, but I have my assumption is that you're gonna talk me through my workout or something, or my routines like that. I'm not sure. That's my
almost, but kind of.
yeah, exactly.
That's the closest anybody got who didn't know anything.
Yeah.
You know, that's pretty sick, right?
I kept it broad.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, the premise of this podcast is to prove that you can have an inappropriate sense of humor and still reach a higher consciousness. Right. So what we do is everybody gets the same questions, right? And what we do is we take you through the process of enlightenment by opening up your chakras from the ground up, right?
Yeah.
And
No other way. It's like, obviously.
That way we get to vicariously through you also go to a higher consciousness. You're going to reach full enlightenment.
I'm stoked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's fun. We have a good time. On this.
Sounds like hitting a Reiki session or something like that. You know, something really relaxing.
I mean, just knowing that word alone puts you in the upper echelon of this podcast.
Oh, that's great. I had a Reiki session once.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
I had a friend's mom was a Reiki master.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
So Reiki
years
is where
ago or
you
something.
put your hands over top of a person and you guide their energy in a way that gets them back to flowing, right? And it's pretty ridiculous. It's like, I think it's one of those things like having it done to you, you have to believe in it.
Yeah, I felt something, I guess. But it was like warm. I mean, somebody's like basically putting their hands right over a part of your body. So, of course, it's like, oh, that area is warm right now. Like, it wasn't as like serious as getting a full massage.
Absolutely.
Or even like one of those, or a chair massage or whatever. Or somebody just rubbing your shoulders. It was like not even like that.
Yeah,
No,
but you don't have to like have faith that a massage is working.
Definitely not.
Yeah,
No.
definitely know that.
Yeah, you feel it in your muscles, right? Unless you feel it in your skin, I guess. That's as far as it goes.
So, the first question we like to ask everybody is, so what situation or experience have you gotten the most information from?
Whoa, information. Situation?
Or experience.
What is a situation? How long of a time is that?
That's why we also say experience.
I know, right?
We like to
So
cover
a moment.
however the question hits you and you want to define it.
Oh, because I feel like you just keep getting. I'm like, have I gotten information ever? Like that's kind of how I am. I'm like, God, hasn't happened to me yet, guys. I'm sorry. I've never taken an info. It's hard to say, Even the first question, I'm already off
Yeah,
balance.
this is gonna be fun.
This is gonna be so relaxing. No, yeah, I mean, it's tough. I did go back to college, so that seems like the obvious answer.
Yeah.
That I would be like this time frame, this
So what do you mean by
12
back to college?
plus
So
year.
Yeah.
you were 12. You were how long? You went to college as a normal person does right out of high school initially.
Yeah, exactly. Normal person does. I was normal for a minute. 18. It took me 6 months of being an adult.
You
to be
were
like,
dropped out of being
abnormal.
normal.
Yeah. You were normal for 6 months of college.
Even not.
No?
No, I wasn't. But the 6 months before that, basically.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
You
And
spent
then-
no normal minutes in college.
Well, I eventually, not at 18. No, I
Yeah.
went to like classes for like a month, and then I kind of started. This is what I started doing. When I was 18, I started writing like screenplays at night in the middle of the night, so I'd hang out with everybody
Yeah.
all day, and then everyone would go to sleep, and I would just fucking some batshit crazy person, fucking Howard Hughes or whatever, just stay up at night and write.
Yeah.
And then it was like, what am I doing here? This is what I give a shit about. And then I found stand-up right after that. And then you're just writing stand-up. But I was trying to I guess become a screenwriter, but I didn't get enough grades I didn't get enough grades that I couldn't get even get into film school or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
You might be the first person that I've ever heard of who dropped out of college because they were writing too much.
Yeah.
That's a new one.
Really, I know, right? Just garbage.
Sorry, Mom and Dad, I was writing too much.
Yeah. I know. I can't get my shit together.
So then you went back to college how much later?
About 5 or 6 years later.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then how would you distill the information that you got from that experience?
The middle.
Or just the overall thing, going the thing that the information that you get from that whole experience of, going to college for a little while, not and going back, if that is the experience going back to college that you got the most information from, how would you distill that information that you got?
There's definitely, I guess, just on a real experiential level, going into a big community. I went to Temple University. It's a big college. It's in Philadelphia. I knew some people in Philly, but not a lot. And I had dropped out of Temple, so I knew Philly a little bit. I had been there before and lived there for 6 months.
But you just
actually, I had lived there
didn't
for
go
a
out much.
year,
Yeah.
but because I moved back to Philly after living in New York for 6 months after dropping out. So I went to a semester. And then I moved in with my dad. And then I moved back to Philly in with some friends that I had met, going to college at 18. So I moved in with some people that moved off campus. And then I did that for about, 6-ish months. I was pretty much going to New York every week.
Yeah.
And I had a bar backing job in the cities. And I had another retail job in Philly. So, I was doing that thing, going back and forth. And then I moved back to New York and kind of got an apartment, blah, blah, blah. So and then you discover it, you're young and you're in New York and you're trying to, and I'm traveling places to Philly
Yeah.
and Boston because those are the places I know people. and I'm doing comedy. I'm like figuring everything out. And then I decided, once everybody I knew graduated college, and then people started moving to New York that had graduated college that were my age, that were comedians.
Yeah.
I started looking at a college experience as a different thing. I also was kind of done with having started doing stand-up in New York City and continuing in that scene where everyone knew me. I had made a lot of bad enemies. But you know, you can only make a first impression once, and I did it very young. And you know, so I moved back. I decided to go back to college, and I went back to Temple, and it was just going into a big community, having a sense of yourself, and not even understanding that until you're somewhere new, and you're like, oh, I don't really have to. I'm starting fresh, but I don't need to like create a new personality or whatever the hell they talk about when you're 18 and going to college.
I was gonna do that.
You know, I'm sure everybody does that.
I was gonna
How
go
can
with
you
like a
not?
Frenchish accent because I was obsessed with Gambit from the X-Men.
Oh hell yeah!
He's so smooth with the ladies. I just wanted to mon ami my way into some.
Never got to do it. You never tried it.
No, it was like I never had the heart. I never was like I'll just talk how I talk.
He has to be that smooth. He has to convince Rogue to touch him.
Yeah.
You know? It's very different. Her whole point of existence is to never touch people. She knows that.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's got to be good.
A large part of this podcast is X-Men fan fiction. Let's create this. No, I'm just kidding. X-Men erotica. All right. So I get that. That's just like when you started to blossom and open up and learning how to do so.
And you're able to, like, kind of view the world. Like, I didn't feel thrown into something. I felt like able to kind of like eat some stuff up, like information wise and let's say experience wise, but you know, like really just being able to go, I'm going to do certain extracurriculars that I'm interested in. I'm going to explore and learn Philadelphia and anything that comes along with, and you know, or whatever. Just like doing stand up in a new place, just kind of like entering a new scene. Like it felt like almost kind of starting a video game where you're just like unlocking missions and meeting people and, you know, a lot of things come along and you know, just making your way in the world. So like those kind of early years of like trying to figure out Philly before, like there was definitely a lot of like gobbling up a lot of information about like these new communities that I was in. Mm-hmm. And I mean, both of these communities, all of these communities they're informative college, you know, Philly's a whole thing, a culture and lifestyle, you know, whatever. And that whole other thing, comedy. You know, it's informative in its own way, right? You know?
Yeah.
So I think there was definitely a big, you know, kind of eating. Plus, you're in your early 20s. You know, you're eating it all up. You know.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So what we do from here is we start to unlock your chakras from the butthole up. That's just where the first chakra happens.
Oh, okay.
We don't actually touch your butthole. It's like we reiki your butthole. Yeah. So, Alex, how did you learn to overcome fear?
Well, to overcome it. I don't know. I mean, I kind of get anxious. I feel not like anxious is the right word. Antsy. So like I'll be, you know, let's say, I don't know, at least the way I'm thinking about it in my mind, of like afraid to kind of do something or do something new necessarily. I would kind of, you know, I get more antsy about, you know, can't just sit here. I got to go out. I mean, I'm not doing that all the time.
Yeah.
But there are definitely moments in the day where you're like, bam, I got to something.
Can you remember a time when you were the most scared? Like if I say, what was your most scared moment?
Most scared? I guess I don't know. I was thinking, I don't know. I mean, when I was a kid, just being like kind of in New York sometimes and being scared. I was thinking of this today.
Wait, how old of a kid? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, what I was kind of thinking is like once, so my dad got mugged. I was maybe three or four, something like that. And
you were almost Batman.
Yeah, my dad was. He chased this guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah,
cool.
exactly. For like a block.
Yeah.
You know,
He left you, a 3-year-old.
Exactly. You know? Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. I'm sorry. I'm just like, so as a 3-year-old, in that moment, like you're watching your dad get smaller as he's running away. And like the city will be getting bigger.
Yeah.
Because like,
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the distance and the fear starts to grow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's terrifying.
I had like a stuffed animal with me, one of those pound puppies. Like I was a real
Oh,
kid.
this is like a movie.
And I literally remember looking at it being like, I don't know.
Like it's just me and you.
Me and you, buddy. Yeah, right.
He was like wearing shorts and like a blazer,
Yeah.
just a propeller hat.
Oh, yeah, right. I was the bugle boy.
Yeah.
For sure.
It was the most adorable scene.
Yeah. No, I did. And then
Yeah.
my dad turns around and is like, oh my God. But, I was like, wallet schmott. But
Yeah.
it was his reaction as a New Yorker was like, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to grab him.
Yeah.
Because we've talked about it.
Yeah.
And like.
Was your dad much of a runner? Like, did your dad think he was gonna get him?
I think he thought he would.
Yeah.
I think he thought he would. I mean, it's no absurd. My dad was like in a business suit, I'm sure. I think he was in like, it's an old memory, so who knows how like, he might have been wearing a propeller hat. Who knows? Everybody was. The robber, the cops, the deli salesman. Everybody has a propeller hat. The pound puppy.
Was he mugged at like knife point or gunpoint?
No, it was that like it was right out of like we were walking down the street and just a guy grabbed it right out of his back pocket. And so, you feel something in your back pocket. My dad turns and is super close. He's right there. So there could have been a chance that he would have gotten him, but it would have had to be very instant. He would have had to get him quickly. Like the longer that chase goes, the less likely I think he would have gotten him because he was not in the right clothing, who knows? I mean,
Well, that is like jarring. You're like existing in life with your 3-year-old son, and all of a sudden you feel a brush against you. You turn as a human man, and you got to think like you got to assess what's going on before you act.
For sure. Yeah.
Like there are people that will grab first,
Yeah.
Right.
and then ask questions. We experienced a grab first guy who then asked questions. Remember when we were leaving? So we were at the shore. Ainsley's dad used to have this shore house that we loved going to. And we were leaving it one day. And I was putting the cooler into the car. And some guy from across the street came out of his house straight over to me and was like, hey, I think you got my cooler. Because it was the same color
Yeah, right.
as his cooler.
That was this guy's excuse with my dad's wallet too. He's like, that's the same color as mine.
But you know what? He was like, he came straight. He's a grab first, and then ask questions later guy.
He wasn't like, honey, did you move the cooler?
No,
Like,
he came straight out of the house and came straight over to
That
us
looks
and
like
was
mine.
like, I think you got my cooler. And we're like, what are you talking about? And said he was like, and I go, I go, is your cooler missing?
Yeah.
And he went and looked for it and couldn't find it. And I was like, maybe you took it in already. And he was like, well, let me just see inside your cooler. I was like, no, you did not get to see it. But anyway, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I love that was going to be the distinction. I would have never thought of that, I feel like.
To look in the cooler?
Yeah, like you're not buying. If you got the same cooler, I'd be like, we both got the same stuff. What if we have the same drink? What if I drink Coca-Cola, too?
Yeah,
That
what if
kind
I
of
keep
thing.
private shit in my cooler? Mind your business. Mind your business. So, so that is. So then, how do you move? How do you get the courage to do the things that you need courage to do? Like how do you overcome fear in that moment?
In that moment, as a child.
No, just or unless like, was there a moment as a child where you figured it out? Where you
Figured it out. I feel like not really. I don't know. Did I figure it out? I've never thought about it in that way, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Or not.
Yeah.
Does anyone not know what I mean?
well, because something like fear as a child is huge.
Right.
And eventually you have to get to a point where you can do the things you want to do despite that mountain of fear. And, for some people don't always like log that information, but, sometimes it comes back to a moment that like sticks in people's mind that like, yeah, this was kind of this might've been it.
Yeah, I don't know if, exactly. I think you just kind of eventually, well, here's another big fear thing. I guess a memory that comes up talking about this sort of stuff. So growing up, I was traveling back and forth between Boston and New York. That's where my parents lived. My dad was in New York. My mom was in Boston. And I would fly back and forth. It was the 90s. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Like
and
by yourself?
by myself.
Yeah.
So my parents got divorced when I was 1. And they, you know, someone would fly with me.
Then your father became a vigilante.
And well, yeah, exactly. After that 3-year-old incident, but you know, but not soon after. Once you're 5 years old, so once I turned 5, you are allowed to fly as a minor.
Yeah.
In the
Alone.
90s.
In the 90s. Yeah, exactly. In
I can imagine
1991.
like taking our girls and be like, okay, I'll still
Yeah.
get you in another state.
Buying extra plane tickets for 4 years.
I can't
Yeah.
call them until they get back home because cell phones don't exist. But
Yeah,
trust me.
exactly.
It's gonna happen.
They have to go
Yeah.
to a payphone with the, you know.
So right, exactly. So like I'm literally a New England
They only
suburban
top
kid.
each other's shoulders at a pay. I'm sorry. Just imagine our twins like up on top of each other's shoulders at a payphone trying to call. We're okay, Mom. We're going on to the next flight. It's like what?
I know. I didn't have 2 other kids to dress in a trench coat with. You know, like I didn't have other siblings in this situation.
Yeah, man.
You know,
That's
I had
wild.
No
2
travel
older
buddy.
sisters who sometimes would fly with me, and then eventually. There was like periods where we would do road trips,
Yeah.
kind of thing too, that kind of thing, and like you know. But I would fly a lot, so I flew a lot as a kid, like before I even started racking up memories in that way that I can pull from. I was flying at 1 in general often, and then I'm crying on a lot of flights. You know, just because I understood the divorce. No, I'm just kidding. But, then, yeah, at like, I mean, really, like, kindergarten, I'm flying alone
Yeah.
on, you know, on Fridays and Sundays, the way, you know, a businessman does.
You bring a briefcase.
Yeah, exactly.
Just my weekend bag.
Yeah, right, exactly. Backpack and a Discman. That's all I
Yeah.
needed. Still had to check both, though. You know,
They were big back then.
it was
Discmen
another
were
time.
huge back then.
Yeah.
It was another time. They let you in with all boom boxes. You just played them on. No, they. Yeah, but it was. You know, it was different. I was flying like it was the 70s and like leisure suits or whatever, eating peanuts, and they would give you, even on a shuttle flight like that, it's 45 minutes. They would in the 80s it was Trump Airlines.
Yeah.
So, and so obviously that was a bloated, you know, business. So they would give you like this crazy like half meal on a
Yeah.
45-minute flight. And then that became U.S. Airways, and then that became U.S. Air. And then by the time U.S. Air was out of business, I was probably already driving up to New York. You know,
I just found out U.S. Air is out of business.
I think they're out of business. Yeah,
I agree. There's a
Pretty
lot
sure.
of signs at the airport to
yeah.
change.
It's like I thought they were all U.S. Air.
I know. No, there was when I there was a time I was like, do I have 1 million frequent flyer miles? Like as a little kid,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, am I platinum status? It's like, no, you're doing a, you know, not 300-mile flight. It's not a,
Yeah.
and your parents are obviously using them. No, I think you could, as a minor, you could get a minor could get 10 tickets for $80.
Yeah.
You bought them in bulk. It was like riding a megabus, kind of.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
So this was a fear thing you were going to mention. So flying back and forth.
That moment, I remember when, you know, my parents, like my dad and my mom, each kind of like talking about, oh, you're gonna fly alone.
Yeah.
You know, you're gonna go to elementary school for the first time, also, but you're gonna start flying alone, that kind of thing. And I didn't want to do it. You know, it was a family thing to me a little bit. I mean, I really don't even remember as many times flying with somebody else now. I remember a lot of times flying alone. And there were just a lot of incremental things of getting to the airport or getting from the airport that I was then doing independently.
Riding your bike to the airport.
I mean, I was hailing cabs at LaGuardia. You know, I'm Hey, I knew how to do that. That kind of thing. I knew how to get around New York. I knew that kind of stuff like on my own. Because then also I was going to New York, and so like when I was in middle school, I stayed for like a whole summer. There were times I would do stuff like that. And that's also a weird thing, kind of in that community thing, where I'm like not going to school in New York. It's like a family place to me. Certainly as a youth, a youngin'. And then I would go to like camp in New York sometimes, but it would be like you're already old enough where like you've made a lot of friendships, and now you're like, it's like going to a new school.
Yeah.
It was like I don't know anybody in this town. And then also we're not gonna keep being friends after this because I don't really live here, and like that kind of stuff. And then, so it became, instead of going to camp, I would work for my dad as a bike messenger in the city, again, in like middle school. So I like learned the city on my own really independently that way, just like over a couple of summers. Like I already knew it, obviously, but then I like independently knew how to get around.
Yeah.
And I started walking everywhere. Like I would walk a lot instead of taking the subway. I would take the subway. And I, from the airport, had experience taking cabs and stuff. So I like knew how to get around.
It sounds like you learned the thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
You got to.
Yeah,
It's not hard to, it's a grid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Come on.
But even when, as far as like overcoming the idea of a fear of something, it seems like you immerse yourself in information about it.
Yeah, you know what? I think you're right. I try to learn a lot about
I was just learning a lot about you, learning about things. I was paying very close attention. Just
I understand.
And from my experience of hanging out with you over time.
Right, of course.
It's But I didn't just piece it together then. I don't want to steal valor.
That makes a lot of sense to me, though.
Yeah.
Because I do like to, eat up a lot of that kind of info about, like, certainly a place, just like I'm talking about New York. I really like to do that. I do that now with Jersey City, which is where I live. And,
and a terrifying part of Jersey City?
Not terrifying.
Yeah.
I'm not terrified.
No,
All the
not
time.
that you're terrified.
Places, all the time.
I grew up in terrifying places.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not terrified to be there. But
right.
I recognize that they are terrifying places and that you shouldn't feel comfortable there.
Yeah, I know what you mean, and there are certainly elements that you might be like, hey, maybe not the most, the opposite of terrifying place to live. But, I like cities, and I think there's, they're not quiet, and that's part of the thing that makes me feel comfortable, honestly.
Okay. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll consider that chakra unlocked for the moment. Ooh. Right? The fear chakra. And we'll move on to the next segment. So this is a segment called My Bad, right? And this is where you get the opportunity to apologize to any person, place, or thing that may need an apology from you. Not that that person, place, or thing will ever hear it, but it's just to get it out of you and get your energy back to neutral.
Oof, neutral.
Yeah.
Yeah, is there anyone I'm sure there are. It's hard to know. I don't know.
That's why this is a good.
Dancing around all these questions. I'm trying to process them too.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody does.
Of course, I don't have a gut reaction like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, Mom."
Some people do.
I'm sorry, Mom. You know what I mean? I should give my mom a call. Get my back to neutral. I mean, she's the best. She deserves a call. I don't talk to my parents every day, and some people do, and it's just never been a thing. Even when I lived with them, because I was out of town.
Yeah.
With both of them. So, and it's always been a kind of, not a thing, but it is like a thing. You know?
What do you mean? I mean, so, because if this is your apology to set your energy back to neutral.
Not a good idea.
No, well, and it's like, he goes, I don't talk to my parents every day.
I know.
Like, I'm sorry about that. But that's like, but who decides that is the precedent? Like, there's only an opportunity to talk to your parents every day now. Like 100 years ago, that wasn't even possible.
That is a great point.
Yeah.
Right. I just, you start hearing that people do that, and I'm kind of always like blown away, I guess, is how I feel whenever I do hear that somebody does that. And it, not that there's anything wrong with it, of course. It's one of those where I'm like, oh, that does kind of make a little bit of sense that you would kind of like say hi or check in more often than old, broken tree does,
Yeah.
Yeah.
How often do you talk to your parents?
I'd say every week or two, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know, give or take.
How often would they say you talk to them?
Probably once a month. Give or take a month. No, I don't know. I feel like at least, definitely not. Like probably weekly at the most is kind of like what we end up getting into a rhythm, but we rarely get into a rhythm like that.
Yeah.
So there's also this kind of like dual thing where it's kind of like, you never checking in with both of them at the same time, although sometimes it happens on the same day. And that's, maybe that's a rhythm
Yeah.
that I get into,
Yeah. All right. If that's your apology.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
no,
Is that acceptable?
That's
sorry, guys.
If you feel that is the apology you need to get off your chest, that's your apology.
Yeah.
You feel good about that?
Should I? I have no idea anymore. I'm sorry, Dad. I'll give you a call too. Check in.
Yeah. You feel
Do
like
do you know who I owe an apology to?
Okay.
Who
Hold on a second. You can come in now.
Jerry. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not at all. I mean, it's that's we've had some. I mean, you're also like, you are a pretty good guy for the most part.
That's what they say.
I've been bringing on some people with some probably darkness to them, a little more darkness to them than some others might have. You know what I mean?
I feel you.
It's
I'm like, I'm like, I haven't run over anyone with my car.
We've had that.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
we've had some incriminating apologies.
I mean, not that I haven't said 1,000 times I would be sorry for it. I got into a car accident once and other people were in the car when I was young, again, 18. So,
Yeah.
And again, million apologies. I can apologize to them again. I'm sorry. Won't ever hear it, I'm sure. That would be shocking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, terrible. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, it's all good.
Didn't get enough night's sleep. Not an excuse.
That was a good apology. I wish we explored that one more. Yeah, but that's nobody got hurt though.
Somebody got hurt.
Oh no! Like badly?
Not good. Never good. No, it's never good. It was like I would say internal bleeding. I believe it was. We're on our way to the Warp Tour, so we have 5 people in the car.
Wait, I think I went to the Warped Tour.
I
lived in New
almost
York.
did.
Oh,
No,
I guess you almost did. Sorry,
I went
like
once.
rub it in.
Yeah.
No,
Oh my God! I went. It was great. You missed it.
No, I didn't mean to step on you either. But yeah, you went to New York.
Yeah.
What year? This was like.
Oh God.
Not to put you on the spot. This was probably 04, 05.
It was probably
Maybe
like 03, 02. No, it was much earlier than that. Yeah. I don't know.
Something like that.
Yeah, I was curious to see how you're going to handle that question.
In the 90s.
Yeah. Point of reference stuff. Historically, in her own life, Ainsley's not the best at. Neither am I. We're both terrible at it. We for the longest time had no clue when we got together.
Wow. Yeah.
And we just
together.
mutually decided on an anniversary.
Oh, that's good. That's a good way to do it.
Yeah. We'll just do this thing. Whatever.
That's a great way to do it.
This year, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Pick it.
So I'm sorry. What were we just talking about? You were
The Warp Tour.
the Warp Tour, the
On their
accident.
way to the
Yeah.
Warped Tour.
Right. So Bad Religion and Alkaline Trio were going to be there. Anyway. Yeah. So we got somebody in the middle seat in the back. It didn't have a strap that, and
Just
so
the belly thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of, so,
He almost got split in
So,
half.
had to go to the hospital,
Sheesh.
obviously wasn't good.
Was it a
know.
girl?
It was a girl.
'Cause you
I
typically
saw
put the
her after
smallest
that, and
person-
she, I believe, was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
fully healed.
knock on wood. Hopefully
Yeah.
she doesn't have.
They're
something
the
to this
smallest
day.
people for those seats, but they
Yeah.
also have the weakest internal organs.
Right.
Like the petitest, the most
That's
petite
their
woman in the group.
sacrifice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why they're always scared of like.
They are. Tiny women
to
are.
sit in the middle.
You get why tiny women were terrified all the time back,
Yeah.
especially back then. But yeah, that's so she got hurt,
Yeah.
and then you said you didn't get enough sleep the night before. Maybe smoked a couple doobies on the way.
Nah.
No, this
But
is
I was, but I was at a party where we probably drank and, was
Yeah.
underage, obviously. And then
You don't have to admit to that.
I guess I shouldn't have. But, bad news.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
all right.
Luckily, it wasn't worse, But yeah, definitely.
That's a chakra
not great.
unlocked.
I apologize.
That's a
I'm
chakra
sorry.
unlocked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a chakra unlocked. Have you talked about that ever since then?
Oh
recent-
yeah, I sometimes do a joke, not that seriously. I don't go
Yeah,
deep
yeah.
on, it, but on
Yeah,
stage
yeah.
I'll do like, it sounds like a Blink 182 lyric. I crashed my car on the way to the Warped Tour.
Yeah.
And that's just as a
Yeah,
quick one.
yeah, that's pretty wild.
Driving stuff.
Yeah, now I know the behind the scenes of that joke.
Yeah.
It's a much deeper joke than the joke would.
I used to do a different thing about
Yeah.
it where it was like all I remember was just like looking off to the side of the road for a second at a Kia dealership and thinking that's sad to put them on the side of the highway when they see all the cars people actually want to drive, and then I look forward at Nissan.
Yeah,
But yeah.
that's I'm sorry. I was working on going to the Warped Tour, getting a crash, and almost warped a human body in the back seat. She almost got split in half. We're moving on.
Terrible.
Oh yeah, it was. I
Eyes
told you it
on the
was my
road.
brain. It was
Yeah.
I apologize about that. Strike that from the record. But yeah, that's a chakra unlocked.
Yeah.
That's a good apology. That'll knock some. That'll get some sweat off you. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
So,
So,
right? Check it out.
Okay, so we're moving on to the next chakra. Now, that first chakra was, of course, the butthole chakra. That's the fear chakra. We move into the pelvis. Now we're moving into the gut chakra, right? And so, how do you move on past disappointment? Like, how are you able to do that?
I think it's just good to like have something to kind of like look forward to, and I like to try and have like a bunch of not projects, let's say, and not like in life have things to look forward to, not just like work either and productive stuff, but try and like just keep the calendar full of things that you're excited about. I mean, as full as possible. So that like disappointing things, you kind of like, there's another thing coming, whether it's another show or, just getting out there in the world, like, that kind of thing, I guess, anything disappointing in that way, like not really, maybe, at this stage, either not putting too much pressure on any specific one thing so that it's, put on some pedestal. And then, like, if it goes great, like, oh, yeah, well, we were all expecting it. And then if it, like, is disappointing, you're in bed for a month or whatever kind of thing.
It's like, now I got too much to do.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and I mean, with comedy, obviously, you just, like, learn, like, even when it's the best, it's really not that glamorous.
Yeah.
When you really break it down, it's not the...
I never break anything down.
Exactly, yeah.
That is it's too sad. Everything's sad.
Yeah.
Everything's dark and sad when you break it down.
It is.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
It's like nothing is permanent. We're all going to die. Fuck.
I know.
Why did I just do that? Why?
Yeah.
So could you recall a time when you feel like you were the most disappointed in yourself?
In myself, the most. I mean, I could not get it together in high school, like just kind of grade wise or like give a shit about school. And I just like stressed over that sort of stuff like so much.
Wait, hold on. You wait, this is so confusing. I like this so far.
Yeah.
So you couldn't get it together. Your grades weren't good, but you stressed over having good grades?
Yeah. Like totally.
Wait, that person existed?
Yeah, man.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
because like
mean.
Ainsley and I, we were fucking like A students. We were
Right, yeah,
goody
I feel
two
you.
shoes academically. Well, in high school for me, in college also for her. But even when I was in college and my grades were slipping, I did not give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because that's why they were slipping. So this is a really unique perspective as far as I'm concerned.
I also didn't give a fuck. But then I would stress myself out. Like I would have a kind of like Sunday scaries kind of thing like every night. And then
You live free all day.
yeah, well, I had,
on
I
like
had
5
other
minutes at night.
interests and other things. I was busy. I had a briefcase. I was making flights. What are you talking about? Well, you think I was doing literally nothing? I mean, I had plenty of time to get schoolwork done too. Don't get me wrong, but I definitely was, trying to do stuff. There were, but yeah, I mean, and obviously not as like a little kid, you know. Once I like, there was probably like by my sophomore year of high school, it was like, this is really like not going that well right now, that kind of thing. And there were times in middle school too where I probably was also doing too much other things. And you know, I couldn't, you know, do homework. I mean, I like, you know, so I was there were a lot of things that I just would like miss, you know. I also probably was the sort of kid that would be like, I'm doing fine, and then I just don't do like one whole project, you know, or that kind of stuff. Or like, I think even there was a time where like I missed a midterm because I was in New York or some like, God, I mean, maybe I'm just blaming it on that, but things like that.
A lot of these things.
There were, I mean, I think in middle school one year, I was like absent like 12 times. You know, and I just was like probably depressed, you know, something like that. And yeah, I mean, you know, so I just like couldn't, it was probably more of a depression sort of thing, undiagnosed, armchair in retroactively. But yeah, I like wasn't really figuring out so it wasn't just school, but I would stress mostly about school, that I just wasn't sitting down and doing the work. And, you know, it took me most of high school, probably beyond. Like, I kind of got somewhere in high school where, like, my GPA was not below a 3, but 3 point something. But it was, there was definitely a time where it was like, yo, this is when you should be ramping it up. And you are clearly on some sort of downslope, have conditioned yourself to do this.
Was there a moment where you were like, okay, that was too much. Like that like this has to stop.
I wasn't doing anything bad, I would say. I just was like,
sounds like you were doing a whole list of things that were pretty non-conducive to success. Right?
Well,
see, that's because I
was not like I started drinking like at the end of high school.
Yeah.
So not if you think I was like drinking this whole time, like no, I didn't smoke pot in high school ever. I was
we just thought you weren't, like, back then when like it's like us looking at you.
Yeah.
Like it was just like they're just not doing the work. Like, what the fuck?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wasn't really doing it, and I just.
What was the other stuff that you were so busy doing?
I was just on the wrestling team. I was like gone most weekends. You know, I had a job.
High school extracurriculars.
Yeah. I'm not saying it was like some absurd other, like, you know, now I'm defensive about it.
Living a high school life.
I'm not saying I was like, yeah, exactly. I was living a high school life. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, sure, watching a lot of TV. I mean, I wasn't like doing like nothing, but I would, you know, I mean, in kind of a similar way to the story earlier where I'm like, like doing my own projects. You know, which it sounds insane, but like that is what I was doing. I was like trying to write novels as like a teenager
instead of reading them.
Learning how to read it. The things I was bad at were math and science.
Okay,
so I wasn't like failing every class. That's not what was happening. I was taking remedial math classes. So I was like completely
failing remedial math classes.
I was not failing those classes. That is not what was happening.
Were you acing them?
Probably not. I remember getting fucking like A minuses for things where you're like, you got to be fucking kidding me. And it was just one of those things where you're like, I didn't write out the word "and" in a word problem once, and I remember that sticks out in my mind. It's like a freshman year thing of like, yo, fuck this shit. And
but you like writing. You know the importance of "and."
I wrote it on ampersand or whatever the fuck. But it was like I was bad at like understanding assignments like that. I was not good at going like, this is a word problem. It literally all has to be words. And like an ampersand is still a symbol. That kind of thing that I was like, you know, at the time, like I just couldn't fucking, you know, and I now retroactively, yes, I do look at that and go, well, okay, man, you just fucking know that next time. Like it's all a learning experience. But I turned off a lot and was like, I doing this work is right. I was disappointed in myself also. It was emotional. I was having this reaction where I was kind of like, fuck you. And I also understood that it was a problem and wasn't, able to, put it together that I kind of took on other outside projects more often. So I was like trying to write things. I was reading books and I was able to do, but again, like I would be caught up and then I wouldn't turn in whole assignments because I had a bad week, man, or whatever the fuck was happening.
Here's why I asked this question. So I was very similar in college. I was just living a normal college life, and for whatever reason, that was allowed in my mind to be like too much, right? And I was like whining to myself one day, and Ansley, way back when, she, told me, she's like, "Ew, you need to stop feeling sorry for yourself." And for me, it was like, holy shit, like this has to stop.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell her anything ever again.
Yeah, right.
She'll never know I have a problem again. But you know what I mean? But that was like, for me, that was a turnaround moment. Right. That I remember back on, like, this has to stop. And that's and from then on I was able to, deal with disappointment a little more mature, because back then, before that, it was like, well, the way that, like, everything is happening to me. And so disappointment was hard to deal with because it was so overwhelming, because it was happening to me. And then once I was able to start to take agency for it, I was able to kind of deal with disappointment in a better way, right? So I guess what I'm asking is, like, did you have like a sharp moment of like, fuck, this is too much?
This is too much?
Like, this is too much slacker, because it seems like the disappointment.
No, I would say, well. Yeah, there was probably a moment with like, so I had like a bunch of meetings with this guidance counselor who was like, that I only ever saw because of this. I had never seen him before, This
you were such a slacker, you had to see a guidance counselor on a regular basis?
Not regular. I saw him maybe 2 or 3 times. That's what I'm saying. I had never seen him before. But should
you have seen them more? Like, were you scheduled for more? Only went 2 or 3?
I haven't even begun this story.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't remember his name. I barely remember anything about him. I remember that I had to see him more than once. And he didn't get to me so much that he called in reinforcements, that I had to have a meeting with a guy who didn't work. He wasn't
like
a teacher.
The
he
old
wasn't
guidance
a professional
counselors.
Teacher. He worked, so that our school had a radio station.
They sent the bounty guidance counselor after you? Like,
yeah. They sent the station manager of the radio station to sit me down and have a conversation about where am I going?
Yeah, they
What's
converted people into guidance counselors in his life.
Yeah.
Like, they went in his life and
This
converted
guy actually
I
knew
needed
me.
some guidance.
Dude, it's like, listen, if you're going to be around this dude, you got to tell him to get his shit together.
Yeah. Well, I had a radio show. I was at that radio station a lot. Like, that was the hangout, That was what we did in my group of friends. We were kind of like in this radio station. And so, like, he was called upon to kind of like just sit me down and kind of talk through what I was looking for in school, I guess education, but really like moving forward in and this was probably like junior year of high school.
And you looked up to this guy?
Yeah. Totally.
So
I remember this conversation is the best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. So like this was, and even that conversation was less. So I felt at the time that people were literally like, you have to go to college next. Every single person in this town, every single person that either has a college education or will. And so and I was like, the last thing I want to do is have more school right now. Like, I'm just kind of done with it. And I'm looking for anything else than sitting in a classroom and not working on something that I'm passionate about. And you know what? Another thing that I learned in college a little, or really in stand-up, is that the assignments that you get, you can make passion projects. And I definitely did not ever understand that as someone that was under the age of 18.
You didn't know how to care?
I did not know how to care. That is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I had no idea how to care.
It was like a fun Care Bear that didn't know how to care.
Yeah.
Like this,
Right.
like a good time going to Warped Tour, sort of like shit like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
But just didn't know how to care. That's
I didn't know how to make something about. Yeah, exactly. Something that was pick something out of it that I was actually interested in, and focus kind of on that sort of thing. I found most assignments to be, here's what you need to fucking know, bland shit. And it was, and you know, I just kind of like wouldn't accept any other thing. I didn't know how to care. So yeah, like
All right.
that was
We got there.
a part of it.
Yeah, that's a chakra unlocked, Alex.
I hope
Sure.
so.
Yeah.
Man, I hope I
Making you
I
care.
Yeah.
We are going
now,
to make you
man.
care a lot.
now you know you need to know how to care.
Yeah.
Well, you know that is something that you can't. You have to. Everything in life takes maintenance. Is what, you know, like doing this podcast, talking to all these different people this way. You know, you start to see these patterns, and of course, like we're just like on the side, like we haven't gone through this process. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like we're just watching people do it.
That's
you know?
hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
you know, like
I know. I get all like,
Yeah.
too. I know.
yeah,
I know
it's
it.
tough. It's tough, dude. It's like trust me. Everybody.
I'm like,
has,
you weren't there, man. There was a radio station, dude. You fucking offered me. What was I doing?
But in reality, your school guidance counselor that called that guy, like that was an awesome guidance counselor
Great
move.
move.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you don't remember his name, but
I don't.
Yeah,
He,
still.
I got nothing against this guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
He
but,
wasn't the problem. He wasn't
Yeah.
the fucking.
Yeah.
He was. I didn't even think he was the problem at the time. You
but,
know.
but shout out that guy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
move.
Rock and roll.
Stepping
I
up and
help
making
the
a
youth.
Yeah, I'm sorry
positive
if I made you
impact.
feel that way.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll call that's a chakra unlock, man.
Yeah.
And so and this one always tends to be a little bit shorter one because we don't want to like spend too much time on grief. But what have you learned from grief?
You know, I mean, what have I learned? Yeah, I keep repeating processing. I know. I'm like trying to process.
Well, no, it's funny because like people come in. You know, I almost prefer for people to come in with no idea of what's happening, but then. You know, you have to deal with somebody coming in having no idea what's happening.
Right, instead of
You know
like
what I mean?
writing and prepping for it. No, I don't know. I wish I wrote a packet for this podcast. No, well, my grandfather passed away about a year ago, a little over a year ago, and he was 97 and a half. You know, and my grandmother had passed several years before that, his wife, and those were the two biggest kind of like. I mean, there was other people have passed recently, but like growing up, I didn't know a ton of people that had passed away. You know, people here and there, but not like a ton. It wasn't so, like my dad's parents died when I was either very young or before I was born. Most of their cousins and things like that, like uncles, like my great uncles and things like people like that. And so like more recently, like my aunt passed away at 77, like maybe 5 years ago also. So I mean like these, but like, you know, I think what I've learned about grief, I don't know if I've learned anything about grief. I know. I'm like, who knows? What have I learned? I don't know. I mean,
But you're not grieving all of that right now.
Not right now.
Right. So then how are you not grieving all of that right now is the question. What would be the question?
Well, you know, I still remember these people. You know, we talk about them. We try and like, my family, especially these people, I try and like remember the good things about these people. I mean, even people that I kind of like vaguely knew or like knew that I just like liked, but I know have died. You know, these are people that were younger, you know, closer to my age, like now or younger when I knew them. And you know, those people, you know, you try and remember what you like about them, learn that life is finite, you know. I mean, it's something you always know. I mean, you learn that at some point in general, and you always kind of know it, but like, yeah, understanding it on a different way of like, you know, it can happen at any time, and you never know there are a lot of causes, and like, you know, that kind of stuff where it's unexpected. It's even when it's expected, it's unexpected. Yeah, I guess is one thing. My grandfather was almost 100, and you know, it was something we were basically processing for a number of years.
Yeah.
He was pretty up and active, and you're kind of like, oh, I mean, not active, but he was with it, is how we would kind of say it. We would be like, he's still with it.
Yeah.
Because you could have a conversation with him, basically. My grandfather had been deaf since he was like 16, maybe younger, 12. And so, he was... Having a conversation was always fairly one-sided in general. But...
so how do you even know you were still able to have a conversation with him?
Oh, you just yell. You just talk like this, and he would, and he could read lips and stuff. I mean, he would, but there were things he wouldn't catch.
I wonder how much he was like, like Ainsley has this thing that she does where she acts like she knows what people were talking about.
Yeah, I'm sure he was doing it.
Yeah, just like, of course, probably most of that.
He does a lot. He loved to talk.
Yeah. Fair enough.
And I mean, he had a nice way of speaking, I found. I mean, it was because it wasn't like, too loud. It was like this kind of, everyone's got to pay attention to me because I can't hear what you're saying sort of thing. Like, relaxed. Like, he was never like trying to get a word in edgewise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you celebrate the people, is what you're saying.
Sure. Yeah, exactly. Celebrate like the things you love about them. Try and like, be inspired to be that, especially when it's family or your friends, there's some of that in you, kind of look out for like-minded people in life sometimes, not like-minded, but like some sort of spirit connection, right? So like there must be some sort of thing that we share, that kind of thing. And like, enjoying those kinds of memories and like the memories of what, inspired you about them.
Okay. Call that an open heart chakra.
Open heart.
Open heart, right? That's the heart chakra, by the way.
Oh, right. This was the short one.
Yeah. Now, this is one of my favorite ones, Alex. Strap the fuck in, dude. So, Alex, what is your favorite lie to tell? Now, here's the thing. This is the throat chakra. And by no means are we trying to imply that you are a liar, right? But, favorite little white lie that you like to tell, or that you've told, either that you tell or that you like to told. And of course, you get extra karmic points if you divulge a lie that is currently in rotation, right? But it doesn't have to be. And favorite could mean anything you want it to mean.
Yeah, I see. Favorite lie. My parents have been married for years. No, I'm kidding. No, I don't know. It's I'm trying to think of something current-ish. Oh, I don't know. What's a lie? Oh, it's probably just like a stand-up thing. I feel like I could get away with. Be like, I tell people, like, people ask to be on shows or whatever. People ask about shows, and I kind of try not to. I know that think about it. I kind of tell people, remind me.
Maybe you don't want to tell.
But that's a lie. How about this? This is a lie that I said. This is a lie.
Remind me.
I tell people, remind me.
That's a fun.
Because and so technically, and I tell it to everybody that if I I say it basically where I'm like, hey, I focus on one thing at a time. So. Which obviously is not true. I said it earlier. And try to keep irons in the fire. And so, like, people ask, but, like, if I kind of can't do something for them right then or don't want to, I say, remind me. And so sometimes it's like, remind me. It's always remind me. But, like, sometimes it's like, please remind me. Please remind me soon because I will, maybe, I want, you're the best kind of thing. And I just don't have the space for you right now.
Remind me.
And then there's people like, remind me. And I know you'll forget, or I'm praying that you do. So there is kind of I feel like there's a lie in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It may be, there's an honesty to it too, because if they remind me, I wasn't telling you not to do that. I'm not like, oh, fuck, why is this person reminding me?
Yeah.
But I say that to people a lot. That's one that, currently in rotation. If that counts.
That counts.
If it counts.
That for sure counts.
It's done.
Great.
Throat chakra unlocked.
Yeah.
Ooh, damn.
Comedians watch the show, by the way.
Hey, I'm being perfectly honest right now. It means both things. Definitely. Please remind me. I need more reminders, actually. That's honestly
It's an honest,
true. People
it's an honest lie.
It's an honest lie, right?
It's an honest lie.
All right. So now we're getting up into the third eye chakra. These are a little bit more cerebral, a little bit more existential of questions, right? So two things that you previously would see as separate, but now you're starting to see are the same thing. And we call this the two sides of the same coin. Well, I call it this because nobody. When I explain it one way, the other way works. When I explain it, so two things you thought were separate, but now you see are the same thing.
Oh man, just so yeah, man. I'm glad I was broad in the beginning because these are broad. Two things I thought were separate. The two of them. I mean, my first inclination was going to be show business as two different things. Because I'm watching Succession, and that is a show. I mean, everything they do. I was like, I don't know. I could go down that road. The show and doing business. It's all kind of the same. I would say in both or business show. It's.
Is that something you feel like you've learned recently, or you're starting to like? When did that become prominent? That they were the same to you.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately.
Okay,
let's call it that. Yeah.
So now you know it. Now you got to figure out what to do about it.
Yeah, right. I guess so. I know. I guess in general, I kind of have been thinking more along the lines of I don't know, still say yes to everything, like all that stuff. I'm down to do that. I'm down to do a lot of stuff. But also the things that I'm pursuing and spending a lot of my productive work time doing are intended for the things that I want to be doing. Like my independent projects, like I was kind of talking about. Instead of trying to fit into all the time, only exclusively or whatever, fit into the things that already exist, kind of creating your own independent business of some kind, whether really on paper, but also just kind of the active pursuits of, that kind of part of the show. I mean, for obviously, like the show part is fun. Doing a show is often fun, whether it is your own thing or that you've created out of nothing, or being on someone else's show or somebody asked you to be in stuff, like that kind of thing, getting work, but I think it's that kind of thing of creating your own projects is getting work. And I'm trying to think of things like that.
Yeah.
So that instead of when I was living in New York before going back to college, it was you're obsessed about, trying to get on free bar shows and stuff. And it's why is that the thing I'm pursuing? Something that doesn't lead to much, is not a project of my own that I have creative control over, or have an insight into. And I mean, these are skills I was learning over 10 years. I mean, I went back to college thinking some of these things, but not as in the way that they're the same thing, two sides of the same coin. At least how I'm thinking about it now.
Yeah.
When you went back to college, did you major? It sounds like you already had your passion for your projects. Did you find college that worked with those projects?
Absolutely. I mean,
so what'd you go back to college for?
I just went back for creative writing, with a creative, writing, certificate that they give.
Yeah.
Now he can't write his way out of college.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, still, I wish I learned more film stuff, more on hand, hands-on stuff. You can do it homemade, kind of understanding those skill sets. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Looking at lights, figuring out lighting, all that kind of stuff. Is definitely stuff you know is important, but to know it yourself and have the information. And I read on it and I watch stuff, but I'm not. I mean, just even with college, without it, experiential.
Well, you said you like to write.
How you learn.
Sorry, you like to write screenplays.
I've written screenplays. I mean, I haven't sold any screenplays, made a movie or anything like that, but I have.
But is that your dream project? Make your own movie?
I think sometimes it is. Sometimes there's times that I'm this is something I want to do. Soon or sometime in the future. Maybe it's something I want to pitch somewhere. You never know what you want to necessarily do with a lot of projects at the beginning, right? And I'm, I don't know. So I would love to, I guess, is the short answer.
Yeah.
I've thought about making an independent movie, but it's one of those projects. The thing about movie making that I find to be so I'm not so desiring to do it is you are focused on this one thing for a long time. And I mean, it's not that long realistically, but like I know that especially an indie movie can go on forever, the production, and you're really focused on that thing.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, there is something addictive to stand up about going, you know, oh, there's another show next night
just
or whatever.
right on the horizon.
Yeah, and you know, and it's very that it's instant gratification, but it's also that immediate like thought, like paper to the stage, like that kind of thing too.
Okay.
And yeah, I think there's something about, you know, being a screenwriter that is appealing, but maybe like being further into film that wasn't always that appealing to me. I wasn't like as interested in like editing as a younger person when I was writing. I wasn't thinking about like, oh, maybe I'll go to film school and like, who knows? Then you become an editor because you learn programs or you like, you know, you're a boom operator, whatever. Those were not a crew stuff. Like being on set even wasn't necessarily like the thing that I was like dying to do. I wasn't really thinking about that stuff. I was definitely more like the stage, you know, a little bit more like that. A little bit more like the radio, the stage, you know, write some stuff up in the middle of the night and send it out, you know.
The middle of the night working.
Yeah, like, you know. Yeah. I could see, I actually found like journalism, like old school journalism to be more appealing in that way. That like kind of, I mean, not.
A lot of late night writing.
A lot of late night writing, deadlines, what just happened?
Coffee shop.
Get it out. Yes. Oh my God. What I would
So many
kill.
coffee shops.
You have no idea how much I'm like, I want to move to a place that there is a like old timey coffee shop right across the street. I go there every day. I have toast and coffee, and like the guy knows me, and he's like, he's like, Grubard's here for 45 minutes. Punch out some jokes, get about my day. That's like the dream to me. I like at this point, I'm like, I almost don't care where it is. I mean, you know, as a kid, it was like
in case you're out there,
on
place
23rd Street.
In case that place just happens to listen to the podcast.
Oh, dude, yeah. If you own Sarge's Delicatessen on 3rd Avenue and 36, that's where I want to be every morning.
Right.
Drinking
Well,
coffee.
we'll call that a third eye chakra unlocked.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
forget what the first
show
thing
and
about
business. Show and business are the same thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right. Also, we didn't even ask you, do you have time to stick around for the Patreon?
Sure.
All right. It's you know, we it's a different set of questions, but it's very similar. Because on this episode we are we're taking you, the normal you, through the process of enlightenment, and on the Patreon we take your shadow self through the process of enlightenment.
Ooh,
Yeah. So
interesting.
it's a little different. So, but last question.
All right.
It's a 2-part question. It's a double 2-part question. A single. Well, you'll see. One thing you can't give up and why. That's just one part question. And the second question is, what would giving that up mean? So something you can't give up, and why?
Can't give up and why?
Yeah.
You know, I'd say at this point, I mean, just as like a real physical thing, you know, and not something, you know, something, you know, a totem almost, is I would say like The Notebook. You know, like the movie. No, like I carry a notebook on me at all times, and
so you could write at any moment.
Yes.
You like to act physically write.
I'm literally saying I can't give it up.
The one thing in the world.
Literally cannot.
Oh my God.
I own a computer. I use it.
Yeah.
I use a computer as well, but I love pens. I love notebooks. I love these things. And there's something I really like about doing it. I just like write something down every day. Sometimes it's just like a word or two, and I just kind of like fill up a page with like big writing.
You just want to use the note. You just want to write.
I mean, it's even like
where's my notebook?
information.
What do you
It's
have? Nothing. I just want to write it.
Dude, yeah, for sure. I mean, I write jokes in there. I write lists. I mean, I write a lot of stuff. I mean, it's basically a journal, but it's more like a joke book. I mean, there are times that I do free writing that might be more like journaling or more not like journaling. But I do a lot of writing setup punch jokes. I do a lot of list taking. I do a lot of keywords. I do a lot of stats.
Keywords.
Do a lot of stats on comedy.
Yeah.
Stats. I have a stat for this, what we're doing right now.
Oh, sick.
I have a stat. Yeah.
By the way, the most diverse podcast out there. Half of the hosts are black. Half of the hosts are women. 100% of the hosts have biracial children.
You're giving him all the stats.
It's,
Stats in his
it's all
notebook.
of,
Are you going to put this all in the notebook?
Write down these stats. All right, and what do you think giving up the notebook would mean?
I don't know. I feel like what would it mean? I mean, it's not. I don't know if it would mean. I guess like I'm doing projects and being productive in a different way, or I would be thinking about it differently. I probably would be, making a movie or writing a novel and focusing more on that
rather than writing in your notebook.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I say that, but I do those things in a way, and I do write still on the computer, like stories and screenplays, or I start doing things like that. Sometimes I write sketches. I mean, I'm not really. Those aren't things that I think of myself as on a regular basis. But like I don't go up to people and go like, I'm a short story writer because I've written short stories, because I'm not sending them out. I mean, every now and again I'll send like more comedy stuff out, like to McSweeney's, but like not like often. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's still like, caring. Like, I don't find I'm not one of these people that is probably going to sit down and focus on the hard times often enough. Like, I don't put myself on a deadline where I'm going to be like, I'm submitting to the Onion or whatever, or any publication. I mean, I've submitted to stuff. And I've gotten places. I used to write blogs for different places. I say that
we're not scolding you, dude.
I know. Well, I'm thinking it through.
We haven't said a word.
I know, you're right. I'm thinking it through. I'm like, I'm not one of these people. And I'm like, I did keep up with this blog for the New York Examiner for a year. And, I have done stuff like this. But I do tend to think of myself as a comedian first. And so I also tie in stand-up comedy to the Notebook.
Now, let me ask you this. Could you perceive a world where instead of considering yourself a stand-up comedian first, you just consider yourself a writer?
Yeah, I absolutely could. Sure, certainly. Why not? I can see that. And then, especially with the Notebook, I'm carrying around a fucking notebook. It's 2021.
That's a writer.
Yeah. But I love it. There's something like fun about it. I doodle in it. I just use it. It's fun. Do
you ever draw?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I don't draw
strictly a writer.
I doodle mostly. Doodle. I kind of draw sometimes I even do some stuff in my notebook, or I'll get a sketch pad and I will sketch some stuff, but I usually also end up writing in it. I think about stuff like that sometimes. Sometimes I've thought about coming out writing a joke book in a kind of almost like an absurdist version of that. I mean, I should. I'm just talking about an idea where I'm you're kind of putting out someone's joke book, but it's like a piece, it's not just like me publishing one of my joke books. It's just here's a bunch of jokes and almost how you would give to a kid, but is not a corporate joke book. I read a lot of joke books as a kid. As a little kid, I had a lot of joke books. And whether they were kind of, about like Nicktoons joke books or, I didn't have Milton Berle's 1001 jokes when I was a little kid, but eventually I did. And I would have these random joke books that were, I thought were kind of fun. Something about a book of jokes I think is fun. And I still thinking about that with my journal. I call it a joke book. It is a joke book. I write jokes in it, but it's not and every comic's got a joke book. Not everybody, but many do have some way they write down their jokes. And, that's a kind of joke book. And I love that kind of thing of, what if this was actually something that was for consumption and not you brought to the stage as this oral thing, but you just wrote in a notebook and then that was, published in the way that SpongeBob SquarePants tells jokes kind of joke book is.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, that's a crown chakra unlocked.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's the thing?
Yes.
That's it. How do you feel? You feel enlightened?
I feel pretty good. That was better than Reiki.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, people tend to feel different at the end of this than they started. Which is, I'm curious. Did you connect? Did you good? You feel enlightened?
I feel pretty enlightened. I feel more enlightened. I mean, it is. I could go through one of these almost again,
Well, you're about to. You're literally about to.
Exactly.
On the Patreon, where we unlock Alex's shadow self. Alex, Do you got anything to plug? We should have did this. Right? We got to start doing it a little earlier.
Yeah, a little
The
bit
plugs,
earlier. Yeah.
I got a lot of plugs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, mostly live stuff, but you know, me on social media, I'll be, you know, you can find my dates at Alex Grubard on everything. AlexGrubard.com has all my shows. I'll be at Church of Satire headlining in January 15th and 16th, I believe.
Yeah, and real quick, tell people about Weeding Out the Stoned.
And yeah, so there's the big one, Weeding Out the Stoned, the game show of sobriety tests. We have a bunch of comics on stage, basically 8 to 16. They're all stoned, but one. One of them is sober. And so we play sobriety test games, and the audience eliminates all the comics they think are high to try and leave the sober narc at the end, alone on stage. And if you do, you win prizes.
It's a really fun show.
It's super fun.
I want to go to one.
Yeah. So, so follow Alex on all this stuff. We'll put all his information in the bio. And Instagram or Twitter.
Well, for Weeding Out the Stone, it's at Weeding Out the Stone on Instagram, at Weeding Stoned on Twitter. You can find all the upcoming dates on bands in town. live.weedingoutthestone.com is our website. Got upcoming shows all over the country. Philly, New York in January, Jersey City, Smodcastle at Kevin Smith's Smodcastle, director Kevin Smith's Smodcastle in Leonardo, New Jersey. Tons of dates in April, Seattle, Portland, Buffalo. A bunch more coming. Check us out. Follow us on Bands in Town. It's the best way to find out about the live shows.
All right.
Nice.
And thank you so much for being on this podcast. We are going to hop over to the Patreon now, and we are going to enlighten Alex Grubard's shadow self, which should be pretty interesting. All right.
See ya.
Later.
She got you.